She doesn't have cancer. Your fiancée did this, said the street kid, and the businessman froze. Marcus Harrison was looking out the window of the private room at Pinecrest Medical Center, watching the calm movement of the inner garden. His only daughter, Chloe, had been hospitalized for 3 weeks, and the doctors were still adjusting the treatment to fight the disease that had stolen not only her hair, but also the sparkle from her 16-year-old eyes. That's when he felt a presence behind him. Turning around, he found a skinny boy, maybe 13 years old, wearing worn-out clothes and a faded cap. The boy was holding a broom and seemed nervous, constantly looking around as if afraid of being discovered. "You're the father of the girl in room 312, right?" the boy asked in a low voice. Marcus arched his eyebrows. How did that boy know where his daughter was hospitalized? And what was he doing inside a restricted area of the medical center? "Who are you?" Marcus asked, instinctively positioning himself between the boy and the bed where Chloe slept. "My name is Tyler, sir. I work here. I help Miss Martha with the cleaning." The boy gripped the broom handle tightly. "But I need to talk to you about your daughter." Marcus was about to call the nurses when Tyler whispered something that made his world stop. "She doesn't have cancer. Your fiancé did this." The businessman froze. For a few seconds, only the sound of the medical equipment filled the silence of the room. Marcus felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. "What did you say?" he managed to murmur. Tyler looked down the hallway once more, then stepped a little closer. "Sir, all these months I saw Miss Meredith doing strange things. She switches the medicines, tampers with the tests. Your daughter isn't really sick." Marcus felt his head spin. Meredith was his fiancée, the specialized nurse he had met during one of the most difficult times of his life, right after losing his wife. She had been an angel, caring for him and Chloe with so much affection and dedication. "You must be confused," Marcus shook his head. "Meredith is a nurse. She takes care of Chloe better than anyone." "That's exactly why, sir," Tyler insisted, his voice trembling slightly. "She knows exactly what to do to keep your daughter like that. I've worked here for 2 years, ever since my mum lost her job. I see everything. And what she does to your daughter isn't normal." Marcus looked at Chloe, who was sleeping deeply in the hospital bed. The blonde hair that once cascaded over her shoulders had completely disappeared after the first cycles of chemotherapy. Her once rosy face was now pale and thin. She had lost weight drastically in recent months. "Chloe started getting sick right after Meredith came to live with you, didn't she?" Tyler continued, seeing he had the man's attention. Marcus thought for a moment. It was true. Chloe had started showing strange symptoms about 6 months ago, shortly after the civil marriage to Meredith. First came constant headaches, then nausea, loss of appetite. When he finally took her to the doctor, the tests indicated something no father ever wants to hear. "The doctors confirmed the diagnosis," Marcus said, more to himself than to the boy. "Sir, the doctors only see what's in the tests. But who prepares the tests? Who takes care of your daughter's medicine every day?" Tyler asked, letting the question hang in the air. Marcus looked at the boy more carefully. Despite his age and simple clothes, there was a seriousness in his eyes that didn't match a child making up stories. "Why would you tell me this?" Marcus asked. "What do you gain from it?" Tyler lowered his eyes. "My little sister. She died of real cancer last year. We didn't have money for private treatment like your daughter has." He raised his eyes again. "When I see someone faking an illness that took my sister, I can't stay silent. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing." Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. The pain in the boy's voice was real, as was the anger. But accepting what Tyler was saying would mean admitting that the woman he had married, the woman who cared for his daughter every day, was capable of something monstrous. "Do you have any proof?" he asked, his voice coming out harsher than he intended. Tyler hesitated for a moment. "Not yet, but I can get it. I just need you to give me a chance to prove it." At that moment, footsteps in the hallway made them both turn toward the door. Meredith appeared in the doorway, wearing her impeccable nurse's uniform. Her brown hair was pulled back in a perfect bun, and she carried a tray with medications. "Marcus, darling," she said with a sweet smile, "I brought Chloe's medicine." Then she noticed Tyler. "What is that boy doing here?" Marcus observed the interaction. Tyler had visibly shrunk in Meredith's presence, like a cornered animal. "He was just cleaning the room," Marcus replied, studying both of their expressions. "Tyler," Meredith said, her voice maintaining its sweet tone but with a subtle firmness, "you know you're not supposed to talk to patients or family members. Go finish your work elsewhere." The boy nodded quickly, grabbed his broom and headed for the door. But before leaving, he shot a meaningful look at Marcus. "Good afternoon, sir," he said, and left. Meredith waited until she was sure Tyler had moved away, then closed the room door. "That boy is a problem," she said, preparing Chloe's medications. "Always wandering the hall, snooping around. The administration should be stricter with him." Marcus watched Meredith prepare his daughter's IV. Her movements were precise, professional. She had cared for Chloe since the beginning of the illness, attending every appointment, every test, every procedure. "Meredith," he said hesitantly, "do you think Chloe is responding well to the treatment?" She paused for a moment, then continued preparing the medication. "Darling, you know these cases are complicated. Chloe is at an advanced stage. The doctors are doing everything they can." She approached him and touched his face tenderly. "I know how hard it is for you to see our girl like this, but we have to trust the doctors." Marcus nodded, but Tyler's words echoed in his mind. He watched Meredith administer the intravenous medication to Chloe, who remained asleep. Her movements were efficient, almost automatic. "Last week's tests," Marcus said. "How were the results?" "Stable," Meredith replied quickly. "The oncologist said it's a good sign. It means the treatment is working to contain the progression." Marcus nodded again, but something about the quickness of the response bothered him. Meredith had always been very detailed when explaining Chloe's medical results. This time her answer seemed rehearsed. "I'd like to speak with Dr. Sterling tomorrow," Marcus said. "I want to better understand the treatment's progress." Meredith tensed almost imperceptibly. "Of course, love, but remember Dr. Sterling is very busy. Perhaps it's better to wait for the next scheduled appointment." Marcus was about to respond when Chloe stirred in bed, moaning softly. She opened her eyes slowly, still drowsy from the medication. "Dad," she murmured. "I'm here, Princess." Marcus approached the bed and took her hand. Chloe tried to smile, but it seemed to require great effort. "I'm feeling strange again," she whispered. "Like there's something bad inside me." Meredith approached the other side of the bed. "That's normal, dear. The medication can cause these effects. You'll feel better soon." Chloe looked at Meredith for a moment, and Marcus noticed something he had never seen before. There was fear in his daughter's eyes when she looked at her stepmother. "Dad," Chloe squeezed his hand, "can I talk to you alone?" Meredith immediately spoke up. "Chloe, darling, you need to rest. The medication you just received will make you sleepy. It's best not to exert yourself." "It's just a few minutes," Marcus said, looking at Meredith. "Of course," Meredith agreed, but her expression was tense. "I'll check on some procedures in the ward. I'll be back shortly." She kissed Chloe's forehead and left the room, closing the door behind her. As soon as they were alone, Chloe squeezed her father's hand more tightly. "Dad, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice weak but urgent. "What is it, Princess?" "I don't feel sick when Meredith isn't around." Chloe spoke quickly, as if afraid she wouldn't have enough time. "When she's away on a trip or working other shifts, I feel almost normal. But when she comes back and gives me the medicine..." Marcus felt his heart race. "What are you saying, Chloe?" "Sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep, I hear her talking on the phone. She says strange things, about money, about how much longer it will take." Chloe paused to cough. "Dad, she gives me medicine that the other doctors never mentioned. She says it's a special treatment, that you approved." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. He had never approved any special treatment. "What kind of medicine, Chloe?" "Injections. She always waits until you leave the room or when I'm alone. She says they're vitamins to give me energy, but then I feel worse." Chloe was speaking faster now, as if she knew Meredith would return soon. "And there's something else, Dad. My hair didn't fall out because of the chemotherapy." Marcus leaned in closer. "What do you mean?" "It started falling out before I even began chemotherapy. Remember? First it fell out, then the doctors discovered the cancer. But shouldn't it be the other way around?" Marcus thought for a moment. Chloe was right. He clearly remembered finding clumps of blonde hair on her pillow weeks before the first diagnosis. At the time, Meredith had said it was stress or teenage hormonal changes. "Chloe," he said carefully, "do you suspect something specific?" Chloe hesitated, then whispered, "Dad, I don't think I have cancer. I think someone is making me sick on purpose." Before Marcus could answer, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Chloe quickly closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. Meredith entered the room moments later. "How is she?" she asked, approaching the bed. "Asleep again," Marcus replied, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. Meredith nodded and checked the medical equipment. "I'll stay here tonight to look after her," she said. "You should go home and rest. It's been hard on you too." Marcus looked at Chloe, who kept her eyes closed, but he could tell she was tense. "I think I'll stay too," he said. "Marcus, darling," Meredith touched his arm, "you haven't slept properly in weeks. You need to take care of your health too. How will you help Chloe if you get sick?" It was a logical argument, but something about Meredith's insistence bothered him. "Maybe you're right," he said, but remained seated. Meredith seemed to notice his hesitation. "What's going on, love? You seem different today." Marcus looked into her eyes. They were the same caring eyes that had comforted him after the loss of his wife, the same eyes that showed genuine concern for Chloe every day. "I'm worried about Chloe," he finally said. "It seems like she's not getting better." "These things take time," Meredith answered, her voice soft and comforting. "The doctors explained it would be a long process. We have to have patience and faith." Marcus nodded, but Tyler's words and Chloe's suspicions kept hammering in his head. He needed more information before making any rash decisions. "I'll head home then," he said, standing up, "but I'll be back early tomorrow." "Of course," Meredith smiled. "Chloe will be in good hands." Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead. She was still pretending to be asleep, and left the room. In the hallway, he found Tyler pushing a cleaning cart. "Sir," the boy approached discreetly, "were you able to talk to your daughter?" Marcus looked around to make sure they were alone. "How did you know I was going to try?" "Because you have the same look I had when I suspected something was wrong with my sister. Only in her case it was too late when we found out the truth." Marcus felt a knot in his stomach. "What do you want from me, Tyler?" "For you to let me prove what I'm saying. Tonight, when Ms. Meredith thinks no one is watching, she's going to do things she shouldn't. And I'll be there to see it." "It's dangerous," Marcus said. "If you're right, and she finds out you know." "Sir," Tyler interrupted, "your daughter is young. She has a chance to recover if we stop this now. But if we wait too long—" Marcus didn't need him to finish the sentence. He knew exactly what the boy meant. "What do you need me to do?" Tyler looked around once more. "Go home, but come back in 2 hours. Don't use the main elevator. There's a service staircase at the end of the hallway. I'll leave the door open for you. And bring a camera or phone to record." Marcus nodded slowly. "If you're wrong about this—" "Sir," Tyler said seriously, "I pray to God I'm wrong, but if I'm right, your daughter needs our help tonight." Marcus left Pinecrest Medical Center with his mind in a whirl. The whole way home he alternated between accepting the suspicions and rejecting them completely. Meredith had been his salvation after his wife's death. She had taken care of Chloe as if she were her own daughter. How could she be capable of something so terrible? But Chloe's words kept echoing in his mind. The hair falling out before chemotherapy. The special medicines he had never approved. The fear in her eyes when she looked at Meredith. At home, Marcus paced back and forth in the living room, trying to organize his thoughts. He picked up his phone and checked that it had enough battery and memory to record. Then he called his brother-in-law, Dr. Bennett, who was a doctor in Chicago. "Bennett, I need to ask you a medical question." "Of course, Marcus. How's Chloe?" "That's what I want to talk about. Is it normal for hair to fall out before chemotherapy starts? There was a pause on the other end of the line. No, Marcus. Hair loss is a side effect of chemotherapy drugs. It shouldn't happen before treatment begins. Marcus felt his stomach churn. And if it did, what could it be? Well, there are some medical conditions that can cause hair loss, but considering the context... Marcus, why are you asking this? Just a curiosity that came up, Marcus lied. Thanks, Bennett. Marcus, if you suspect anything about Chloe's treatment, you should seek a second medical opinion. I'll think about it. Goodbye, Bennett. Marcus hung up the phone and looked at the clock. He still had an hour before going back to Pinecrest Medical Center. He decided to use this time to think about everything he knew about Meredith. They had met 8 months ago during a visit he made to Pinecrest Medical Center to treat a respiratory infection. Meredith had been the nurse who cared for him, and her dedication and kindness were impressive. She seemed genuinely concerned for his well-being. They began to talk, and she mentioned that she was a widow too, that she understood the pain of losing a partner. Marcus, still fragile from the loss of his wife, found in Meredith not just a caregiver, but a companion who understood his pain. The relationship evolved quickly. Meredith started visiting them at home, helping with Chloe and taking care of the house. Chloe, initially resistant to the idea of a new maternal figure, gradually seemed to accept Meredith. Or did she seem to accept? Marcus now wondered if he had misinterpreted his daughter's behavior. Chloe had always been a polite and reserved girl. Perhaps he had mistaken courtesy for acceptance. The civil marriage had taken place 5 months ago, a small and simple ceremony. Meredith had moved into their house, bringing only a few suitcases. She said she preferred to start a new life with few belongings from the past. Marcus now questioned himself, what did he really know about Meredith's past? She had been vague when talking about her previous life, always changing the subject when he asked about her old jobs or her family. And Chloe had started getting sick, just a few weeks after Meredith moved into their house. Marcus looked at his watch again. It was time to return to Pinecrest Medical Center. He picked up his cell phone, checked again that it was working, and left the house with his heart pounding. The medical center was quieter at night. Marcus entered through the main entrance and headed to the service stairs, as Tyler had instructed. The door was ajar, as promised. He climbed carefully, trying not to make noise. On the second floor, he found Tyler waiting for him in a dark hallway. "She's in there," Tyler whispered. "Miss Meredith entered your daughter's room 20 minutes ago. She closed the door and drew the curtains." "What does that mean?" "She never does that, sir. Normally she leaves the door open and the curtains open so the nursing station can observe. When she closes everything, it's because she doesn't want anyone to see what she's doing." Marcus felt a chill. "How are we going to see then?" Tyler pointed to a door at the end of the hallway. "That's the room next door. It's empty today. It has a window that faces your daughter's room window. We can see from there." They moved silently down the hallway. Tyler opened the door to the empty room with a key he took from his pocket. "Where did you get that?" "Ms. Martha trusts me. She lets me lock and unlock rooms when I need to clean." They entered the dark room and went to the window. Tyler carefully opened a small gap in the curtain. Across the way, they could clearly see Chloe's room through the window. Marcus almost screamed at what he saw. Chloe was awake, trying to pull away from Meredith, who was holding a syringe. The girl looked frightened, shaking her head no. Meredith was speaking, apparently trying to convince her of something. "Record it," Tyler whispered urgently. "Record it now." Marcus turned on his phone's camera and began filming. In the next room, Meredith managed to hold Chloe's arm and administer the injection. Chloe struggled for a few seconds, then began to look visibly drowsy. Meredith put the syringe away in a small bag she kept hidden behind the room's cabinet. Then she checked Chloe's vital signs and wrote something on a clipboard. "What did she write?" Marcus asked, still filming. "Always notes the time and dosage," Tyler answered, "but it's not in the hospital's official chart. She keeps it in a private file." Marcus continued recording as Meredith drew blood from Chloe for a test, but instead of sending the material to the hospital lab, she placed the blood tubes in her personal bag. "Does she do this every night?" Marcus asked. "For the past 2 weeks, yes, always the same procedure. Injection, notes, blood collection, and it all goes into her bag, not to the hospital." Marcus stopped recording when Meredith left Chloe's room. They remained hidden until they were sure she had moved away. "Sir," Tyler said, "there's one more thing I need to show you." They left the empty room, and Tyler led Marcus to a small storage room at the end of the hallway. "Yesterday I saw Miss Meredith throwing some things in the hospital trash here. I managed to recover it before the sanitation workers took it." Tyler opened a cabinet and took out a plastic bag. Inside were several empty medicine vials. Marcus examined the vials. He didn't recognize any of the drug names. "Tyler, do you know what these medicines are for?" "I looked them up online, sir." Tyler pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. "This one," he pointed to a vial, "causes hair loss in healthy people. This other one causes nausea and weight loss. And this one," he held a smaller vial, "makes a person have symptoms that look like cancer in blood tests." Marcus felt his legs go weak. He leaned against the wall, trying to process what he was seeing and hearing. "How long do you think she's been doing this?" "Since your daughter started getting sick, sir. But I only started to suspect about 3 weeks ago, when I saw her discarding these vials always at the same time." Marcus looked again at the video on his phone. The evidence was there, clear as day. Meredith was administering unauthorized medications to Chloe, collecting blood samples that didn't go to the official lab, and discarding vials of substances that caused cancer-like symptoms. "Why would she do this?" Marcus asked, more to himself than to Tyler. Tyler hesitated for a moment. "Sir, I may be wrong, but is your daughter set to inherit something when she turns 18? Marcus lifted his head sharply. "How do you know that?" "Yesterday, when I was cleaning the hallway, I heard Ms. Meredith talking on the phone. She said she needed 1 more year until the girl turned 18, and then—" Tyler stopped. "Then what?" "Then she wouldn't need to worry about the problem anymore." Marcus felt a wave of nausea. Chloe would turn 17 next month. If she didn't survive until 18, the inheritance left by her mother, a significant sum, would transfer to him. And as his wife, Meredith would be entitled to a considerable portion. "We have to go to the police," Marcus said. "Sir," Tyler shook his head, "the police will want more proof. And in the meantime, Ms. Meredith might find out we know and do something worse to your daughter, or she could simply disappear." Marcus knew Tyler was right. They needed a better plan. "What do you think we should do?" "First, we have to stop her from giving the medicine to your daughter. Second, we need to get the medications she keeps in her bag to have as evidence. And third, we need to get real tests done on your daughter at another hospital to prove she doesn't have cancer." "How are we going to do all that without raising suspicion?" Tyler thought for a moment. "Could you invent a family emergency in Chicago? Say you need to travel for a few days and take your daughter with you." Marcus shook his head. "Meredith would never allow it. She'd say Chloe can't travel in her current state of health. Then we have to confront Ms. Meredith directly. But we have to make sure we have enough evidence first." Marcus looked at the phone in his hands. The video was proof, but Meredith could claim she was administering prescribed medication. They needed the medication vials and the private notes she kept. "Her bag," Marcus said. "Where does she keep it when she's not working?" "In the staff lockers, in the basement, but it's locked with a padlock. Can you get the key?" Tyler made a face. "Miss Martha has a master key, but if she finds out we went through staff belongings, I'll lose my job, and my mother needs the money I earn here." Marcus understood the boy's dilemma. Tyler was already taking huge risks by helping him. "What if I get the key another way?" "How?" Marcus thought quickly. Meredith usually had coffee at the clinic's snack bar during her breaks. Maybe he could distract her while Tyler checked the bag. "What time does Meredith usually take her coffee break?" "Around 2 in the morning. She always leaves for 15 minutes. Marcus looked at his watch. It was 1:40 in the morning. "Let's try now. I'll distract her at the snack bar. You have that time to check the bag." "What if she finds out?" "Then we improvise. But Chloe can't spend another night receiving those medications." They went down to the basement using the service stairs. The staff hallway was dark and quiet. Tyler showed Marcus where the snack bar was, then pointed to a door at the end of the hall. The lockers are in there. Miss Meredith's is number 23. Marcus nodded and headed to the snack bar. A few minutes later, he saw Meredith stepping out of the elevator and walking toward him. She seemed surprised to see him. "Marcus, what are you doing here at this hour?" "Couldn't sleep," he said, trying to sound natural. "Thought I'd come check on Chloe, and since I was here, I decided to get some coffee. Would you like some company?" Meredith hesitated for a moment. "Sure," she said finally, but Marcus noticed she was tense. They sat at a small table in the snack bar. Marcus bought coffee for both of them and tried to keep the conversation casual. "How has Chloe been during the night?" "Sleeping most of the time. The medication makes her drowsy, but that's normal." "What medication?" Marcus asked, trying to sound merely curious. "The ones prescribed by Dr. Sterling," Meredith replied quickly. "Painkillers and anti-nausea mainly." Marcus nodded, but he knew that wasn't true. He had seen Meredith administer medications that weren't listed on Chloe's chart. They talked for a few more minutes about general topics. Marcus noticed Meredith kept looking at her watch, seemingly anxious to get back to work. "I think I'll go up and see Chloe," he said, standing up. "I'll go with you," Meredith said immediately. "No need. Finish your coffee. I'll just take a quick look and then head home." "Marcus," Meredith held his arm. "It's better if I come along. If Chloe wakes up and is feeling sick, you'll need medical help." Marcus realized she wasn't going to let him be alone with Chloe. This confirmed his suspicions. "All right," he agreed. They went up together, and Marcus hoped Tyler had managed to check the bag in the available time. In Chloe's room, she was sleeping deeply. Too deeply for someone who should only be under the effect of mild painkillers. "She seems to be in a very deep sleep," Marcus commented. "It's the cumulative effect of the medications," Meredith explained. "Her body is working hard to fight the illness. She needs a lot of rest." Marcus kissed Chloe's forehead and noticed her skin was cold and pale. He wondered what damage those medications had already done to his daughter's body. "I'm going home now," he said. "I'll be back early tomorrow." "Until tomorrow, dear." Marcus left Pinecrest Medical Center with a heavy heart. In the parking lot, he found Tyler waiting for him behind a tree. "Did you get it?" Marcus asked. Tyler nodded and showed a small vial. "This was in her bag. And there was also this." He handed a small notebook to Marcus. Marcus examined the vial. It was identical to one of those in the hospital trash. The notebook contained detailed notes in code, but Marcus could make out dates, times, and quantities. "Is this enough?" Tyler asked. Marcus looked at the evidence in his hands. The video, the vials, the notebook with the notes. It was a start, but he knew he needed more. "We need Chloe's real test results," he said. "Tests done at another hospital, without Meredith knowing." "How are we going to do that?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Tomorrow I'll make up that Chloe needs an emergency consultation. I'll take her to another hospital and request full tests. If she really doesn't have cancer, the tests will show it. And if Ms. Meredith wants to go along, I'll have to stop her somehow." The next day, Marcus arrived at Pinecrest Medical Center very early, even before Meredith. He found Chloe awake and a bit more alert than in the past weeks. "Dad," she said when she saw him, "I'm glad you came early. I spent all night thinking about our conversation." "What did you remember, Princess?" "I remembered when my hair started to fall out. It was right after Meredith started giving me those special vitamins. She said it would help me get stronger for your wedding." Marcus felt his stomach turn. Meredith had started poisoning Chloe even before the wedding, still during their dating period. "Chloe, I need to take you to get tests at another hospital today." "Why?" Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to scare his daughter, but she deserved to know at least part of the truth. "I have some doubts about your treatment. I want a second medical opinion." Chloe looked at him with hope in her eyes. "Dad, do you also think something's strange?" "I'm investigating, Princess, but I need you to trust me and not tell Meredith anything yet." Chloe nodded vigorously. "I trust you, Dad, and—" She hesitated. "I never trusted her. From the beginning, I always felt something was wrong, but I thought it was because I was jealous of you finding someone new." Marcus held his daughter's hand. Your instincts were right, Chloe, and I'm sorry for not listening to you before. At that moment, Meredith entered the room with her usual morning smile. Good morning, family, she said cheerfully. Marcus, you're early today. Good morning, Meredith. Actually, I need to talk to you about Chloe. Of course, what is it? Last night I spoke with my brother-in-law, Dr. Bennett. He suggested that Chloe have some additional tests at another hospital just to make sure the treatment is on the right track. Meredith tensed up immediately. Marcus, I don't think it's a good idea to move Chloe from her hospital. She's on specific treatment here. Changing hospitals now could interfere with her progress. They're just tests, Meredith. We're not changing the treatment. Even so, she insisted, Dr. Sterling should be consulted first, and Chloe is too fragile to leave Pinecrest today. Marcus looked at Chloe, who seemed more alert and willing than she had been in weeks. Chloe, how do you feel? Can you go out for some tests? I feel good today, Dad, Chloe answered, looking directly into Meredith's eyes. Better than I've felt in a long time. Marcus saw an expression he had never noticed before flash quickly across Meredith's face. It was anger or perhaps frustration. Chloe, Meredith said, her voice still sweet but with a subtle hardness. Sweetheart, you don't really know how you feel. The illness is affecting your judgment. It's better to let the adults decide what's best for you. Marcus noticed how Chloe immediately withdrew when Meredith spoke. It was as if she had been trained not to question or disagree with her stepmother. Meredith, Marcus said firmly, I'm taking Chloe for tests today. As her father, that is my decision. Meredith looked at him for a few seconds, and Marcus saw something in her eyes he had never seen before. It was as if a mask had fallen, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. If that's what you want, she said finally. But I insist on coming along. As Chloe's nurse, I need to accompany any medical procedure. That won't be necessary, Marcus said. The hospital has its own medical team. Marcus, Meredith stepped closer to him. What's going on? Why don't you want my help anymore all of a sudden? I've been caring for Chloe since the beginning of her illness. I know her case better than any new doctor. Marcus knew he needed to be careful. If Meredith suspected he had discovered something, she could take drastic measures. Meredith, you have cared for Chloe wonderfully, but as a father, I need to make sure we are exploring all options. That's all it is. Meredith seemed to accept the explanation, but Marcus noticed she wasn't convinced. All right, she said, but at least let me prepare Chloe's medications for the trip. She can't go without them even for a few hours. Of course, Marcus agreed, but he mentally decided he would not give Chloe any medication prepared by Meredith. Meredith left the room to get the medications. As soon as she was gone, Marcus turned to Chloe. Princess, when we leave here, I don't want you to take any medicine Meredith prepares. You can pretend to take it, but don't swallow anything. Understood? Chloe nodded seriously. Dad, I've already been doing that sometimes. When she wasn't looking, I would spit out the pills or pour out the liquids. It was the only way I felt a little better. Marcus felt a mix of pride and pain. His daughter, only 16, had instinctively tried to protect herself, even without fully understanding what was happening. You are very brave, Chloe, and very smart. Meredith returned with a small thermal bag full of medications. Here are all the medicines Chloe needs to take today, she said, handing the bag to Marcus. There's a schedule on the lid indicating the exact times. It's very important to follow it strictly. Marcus took the bag, knowing he would discard it as soon as they left the medical center. Thank you, Meredith. Don't worry, I'll follow everything exactly. And, Marcus, she added, if there's any emergency, call me immediately. I'll be on call here, waiting for you to return. Of course, Marcus said, but he had no intention of returning. They helped Chloe get dressed and sit in the wheelchair. Marcus noticed she really did seem stronger today, as if the effects of the medications were wearing off. In the elevator, going down to the ground floor, Chloe whispered to him, Dad, where are we really going? To find out the truth, Princess, and to keep you safe. The hospital Marcus had chosen was across town. He had called the night before and explained he needed an emergency consultation for his daughter. Without mentioning details about Meredith or his suspicions, he simply said he wanted a second opinion on the cancer diagnosis. During the car ride, Chloe seemed more animated than she had been in months. "Dad," she said, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Do you think Mom would have approved of Meredith?" Marcus thought carefully before answering. His late wife, Sarah, had been a very intuitive and protective woman with Chloe. "Why do you ask that?" "Because sometimes I feel like Mum is trying to warn me about something. I know it sounds silly, but it's not silly, Chloe. And to answer your question, no, I don't think your mother would approve of Meredith." Chloe nodded, as if this confirmed something she already suspected. "Dad, can I confess something? Sometimes when Meredith gave me those injections, I called for Mom in my mind. I asked her to protect me." Marcus felt his eyes well up. "Maybe your mother did protect you, Princess. Maybe she sent that street kid Tyler to help us." At the hospital, Marcus explained the situation to the medical team carefully. He didn't mention his suspicions about Meredith directly, but said he wanted comprehensive tests to confirm the cancer diagnosis before continuing with the treatment. "Doctor," he said to the oncologist who attended them, "I'd like you to run the tests as if it were the first time, as if Chloe had never been diagnosed before." The doctor, Dr. Vance, examined Chloe physically first. "Mr. Harrison," he said after the examination, "I'll be honest with you. Your daughter does not show physical signs consistent with advanced cancer. She is weak and pale, but I don't see the typical characteristics we would expect in a case like the one described." Marcus felt his heart race. "What does that mean?" "It means we will do all the necessary tests, complete blood work, CT scan, MRI, biopsy if needed. We will find out exactly what is happening with Chloe." During the hours they spent doing tests, Chloe gradually became more alert and talkative. It was as if, the longer she was away from Meredith's medications, the more she regained her strength. "Dad," she said while they waited for the CT scan results, "I'm actually hungry for the first time in months." Marcus smiled and bought her a sandwich from the hospital cafeteria. Chloe ate with a genuine appetite, something he hadn't seen in a long time. His phone rang. It was Meredith. "Marcus, how are the tests going? I'm worried." "We're still here," he said. "The tests are taking longer than expected." "Did you give Chloe her medications on time?" Marcus looked at the insulated bag he had left unopened in the back seat of the car. "Yes, everything according to your instructions." "Great. Call me when you're done, please. I'm anxious to know the results." Marcus hung up the phone, knowing he would soon have to confront Meredith with the truth. A few hours later, Dr. Vance returned with the test results. His expression was serious, but not in the way Marcus expected. "Mr. Harrison, I need to speak with you in private." They left the room where Chloe was resting and went to the doctor's office. "Doctor, what's the result?" Dr. Vance opened a folder with tests and images. "Mr. Harrison, your daughter does not have cancer. There is no sign of cancer cells in her body." Marcus felt his legs go weak. Even suspecting it, hearing the official confirmation was a shock. "So, why is she so sick?" The blood tests showed traces of several substances that shouldn't be there. Medications that cause hair loss, nausea, weakness, and that can alter other tests to simulate cancer symptoms. Marcus closed his eyes. "Doctor, I need to be honest with you. I suspect someone is intentionally poisoning my daughter." Dr. Vance leaned forward. "Mr. Harrison, that is a very serious accusation. Do you have proof?" Marcus showed the video he had recorded the previous night and explained the whole situation with Tyler and Meredith. "Doctor, I need your help. My daughter's life was at risk, and the person responsible has not yet been confronted." Dr. Vance examined the video and listened to the whole story. "Mr. Marcus, first we're going to admit Chloe here for detoxification and monitoring. She needs to eliminate these substances from her body under medical supervision. Second, I'm going to contact the proper authorities. This is attempted murder." "But what if Meredith disappears when she finds out we haven't returned?" "That's why we need to act quickly, but first your daughter needs immediate medical care." Marcus agreed. Chloe was admitted to a private room where the detox process would begin. Marcus explained to her what the tests had revealed. Chloe, you don't have cancer, you never did. Chloe began to cry, but they were tears of relief. I knew it, she whispered. I always knew something was wrong, but no one believed me. I believe you now, Princess, and I will get justice. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Marcus spent the night at the hospital with Chloe. For the first time in months, she slept peacefully without Meredith's medications disturbing her sleep. In the morning, she woke up with more color in her face and more energy. Dad, she said, I can feel the difference. It's like a fog has lifted from my head. Dr. Vance appeared to check on her progress. Chloe, how are you feeling today? Better, Doctor. Much better. Excellent. Your tests today show the toxic substances are being cleared from your system. In a few days, you should be feeling almost normal again. Doctor, Marcus asked, what kind of permanent damage could these substances have caused? Fortunately, Chloe is young and strong. Most of the damage should be reversible, but she will need psychological support to deal with the trauma of being deliberately poisoned by someone she trusted. Marcus nodded. He himself would probably need psychological help to deal with the guilt of not having realized what was happening. His phone rang again. It was Meredith, and he knew he couldn't avoid her forever. Marcus, where are you? Why didn't you come back last night? Meredith, Chloe had some complications during the tests. We had to admit her here for a few days. What? Meredith's voice became shrill. Marcus, this is absurd. Chloe needs to be at her clinic with the doctors who know her case. Where are you? I'll come get you right now. Meredith, calm down. Chloe is well cared for here. What hospital is this? Tell me the name right now. Marcus realized Meredith was losing her composure. Perhaps it was time to confront her. Meredith, I need to ask you a question. Why did you never mention that you gave Chloe special vitamins before the cancer diagnosis? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Marcus. Meredith's voice changed completely. There was no more sweetness or concern. It sounded cold and calculating. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about the injections you gave Chloe without my knowledge. I'm talking about the medications you kept in your private bag. I'm talking about the blood tests you collected and never sent to the hospital lab. Marcus, Meredith said slowly, you are making a very serious mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you, Marcus replied. But that mistake ends now. Where are you? Meredith asked again, but now there was a clear threat in her voice. In a safe place, far from you. Marcus hung up the phone and immediately called Dr. Vance. Doctor, she knows we found out. I think she might try to come after us. Mr. Harrison, I've already contacted the authorities. They are on their way to the clinic where she works, and we've increased security here at the hospital. 2 hours later, Dr. Vance returned with news. Mr. Marcus, when the authorities arrived at Pinecrest Medical Center, Meredith had disappeared. She cleaned out her locker and left without telling anyone, but they found some interesting things. What did they find? Fake documents. Her nursing diploma is fake. She was never licensed to practice, and they found other medications hidden in her locker, some very dangerous. Marcus felt a wave of nausea. Chloe had been in the hands of an imposter for months. There's more, Dr. Vance continued. They investigated her past. Meredith, or whatever her real name is, has a history of relationships with wealthy widowers. In 2 previous cases, the children in the families died under suspicious circumstances after she entered their lives. Marcus had to lean against the wall. She's done this before? Apparently, but they've never been able to prove anything until now. You and Chloe have provided the first solid evidence of her actions. Marcus returned to the room where Chloe was resting. She was sitting in bed, reading a book, something she hadn't been able to do for months due to the effects of the medications. Dad, she said when she saw him, from your face, I can see you found out bad things about Meredith. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed. Chloe, Meredith wasn't who we thought she was. In fact, she wasn't even a real nurse. Chloe didn't seem surprised. Dad, Can I tell you something that always bothered me about her? Of course. She never knew basic things about my mother. When she talked about Mom, it was like she was repeating things she'd heard, not like someone who actually knew her or cared about her. Marcus realized Chloe had been more perceptive than he'd imagined. And there's something else, Chloe continued. She always talked about the future, about when I turned 18, about plans for after I got better. But she never seemed really worried about me in the present. Why didn't you ever tell me this before, Princess? Because you seemed so happy with her at first, and I thought maybe I was being unfair because I missed Mom. Marcus hugged his daughter. Chloe, your instincts were right all along. I should have listened to you. Dad, don't blame yourself. Meredith was very convincing, and you were grieving for Mom too. At that moment, Tyler appeared in the doorway, accompanied by an older woman. Mr. Harrison, he said timidly. This is my mother, Brenda. She wanted to meet you. Brenda approached Marcus with tears in her eyes. Mr. Harrison, I don't know how to thank you for what you did for my son. What I did? Tyler told me how you believed in him when no one else would, and how you're making sure he doesn't lose his job for helping you. Marcus looked at Tyler with confusion. Tyler, I haven't done anything yet to protect your job. Yes, you did, sir. Miss Martha told me you called the Pinecrest Medical Center administration and explained that I helped uncover a dangerous employee. She said I'm getting a promotion instead of being fired. Marcus hadn't called anyone yet, but he realized Dr. Vance had probably done it. Tyler, Marcus said, you saved my daughter's life. It's the least I can do. Sir, Tyler approached the bed where Chloe was. How are you feeling? Much better, Tyler. Thank you for being brave enough to help us. Tyler smiled, and Marcus saw it was the first time the boy had really smiled since he'd met him. Chloe, Tyler said, you want to know something? My sister, before she died, she made me promise I'd always help other sick kids if I could. I think she'd be happy to know I managed to help you. Chloe took Tyler's hand. I'm sure she's proud of you. Dr. Vance returned a few hours later with more news. Mr. Marcus, they found Meredith. She was arrested trying to board an international flight with fake documents. Did she confess? Not yet. But with all the evidence you provided, plus what we found at Pinecrest Medical Center, the case against her is very strong. And Chloe, when can she be discharged? A few more days. We want to be sure all the toxic substances have been cleared from her system, but she is recovering quickly. Marcus felt relieved, but also tired. The last few days had been an emotional roller coaster. Dad, Chloe said, can I ask for something? Anything, Princess. When we leave here, can we visit Mom's grave? I want to thank her for protecting me. Marcus felt his eyes well up. Of course, Chloe. I think your mother would like to know you're okay. That night, Marcus slept in the chair next to Chloe's bed. For the first time in months, they both slept deeply, knowing they were safe. The next day, Marcus received a call from the detective in charge of the case. Mr. Marcus, Meredith confessed. Not everything, but enough to confirm your suspicions. What did she say? She admitted to administering substances to your daughter to simulate cancer symptoms. She said she planned this since they started dating, that she researched your financial situation and Chloe's inheritance before even approaching you. Marcus felt nauseous again. So it was all planned from the beginning? Apparently so. She chose you specifically because you were a widower with an only child who would inherit a significant amount. The plan was to make Chloe sick enough to, well, to not reach 18. Marcus had to sit down. How long could she have kept this up? According to the forensic doctors, if you hadn't discovered it, Chloe probably wouldn't have survived more than a few months. The substances Meredith was using were increasingly toxic. Marcus looked at Chloe, who was across the room talking with Tyler and his mother. His daughter was alive by a hair's breadth. What happens now? Meredith will be tried for attempted murder, fraud, illegal practice of medicine, and several other charges. She will likely spend many years in prison. And the other cases you mentioned, they are being reopened. Now that we have solid evidence against her, we can investigate the previous deaths. Marcus hung up the phone and joined the group by Chloe's bedside. Dad, Chloe said, Tyler was telling me about his plans for the future. What plans, Tyler? The boy turned red. Sir, I want to study medicine. I want to be a doctor like Dr. Vance, to help children who are really sick. That's a beautiful dream, Tyler. But I know it's hard. My family doesn't have money for college, and I need to work to help my mom. Marcus looked at Chloe, who was smiling as if she knew what he was thinking. Tyler, Marcus said, what if I told you there's a way for you to study and still help your mom? How do you mean, sir? I'm thinking of creating a foundation in my late wife's name. A foundation that helps young people like you study medicine, and that also works to protect children from situations like what Chloe went through. Tyler's eyes widened. Sir, you would really do that? Tyler, you saved my daughter's life. It's the least I can do. Besides, I think my wife would approve. Chloe took her father's hand. Dad, can I be part of the foundation too? I want to help other children who might be going through what I went through. Marcus smiled. His daughter, even after all she had been through, still wanted to help others. Of course, Princess. You can be the vice president. Brenda, Tyler's mother, began to cry. Mr. Marcus, I don't know how to thank you. You are giving my son the chance to have the future he always dreamed of. Brenda, your son showed courage and compassion when he could have simply ignored what he was seeing. He deserves this opportunity. A week later, Chloe was discharged from the hospital. Her hair was beginning to grow back, and she had regained weight and color. More importantly, she had regained her vibrant personality that Marcus hadn't seen in months. Dad, she said in the car on the way home, can I confess something to you? Of course. During all these months, even feeling so sick, a part of me knew I wasn't going to die. I know it sounds strange, but it was as if Mom was telling me to hold on, that you would discover the truth. Marcus smiled. Perhaps your mother really did protect you, Chloe, and perhaps she placed Tyler in our path at the right moment. Dad, do you think Mom would approve of our foundation? Marcus thought of Sarah, his late wife. She had been a generous person, always willing to help those in need. I'm sure she would, Princess, and I'm sure she is proud of how you handled all of this. At home, Marcus and Chloe spent the rest of the day removing all traces of Meredith from the house. Photos, clothes, medications, everything was discarded. It was as if they were cleaning not just the house, but also their lives. Dad, Chloe said as they packed Meredith's things, I'm not angry at her. Marcus stopped what he was doing. What do you mean, Princess? I'm angry at what she did, of course, but I'm not angry at her as a person. I think she must be a very sick and unhappy person to do something like that. Marcus was impressed by his daughter's maturity. Chloe, you are wiser than many adults. Mom always said that holding on to anger only hurts ourselves. I'd rather use that energy to help other people through our foundation. That night, they visited the cemetery where Sarah was buried. Marcus brought fresh flowers, and Chloe brought a letter she had written. Mom, Chloe said, kneeling beside the grave, I want to thank you for protecting me. I know it must have been you who sent Tyler to help us, and I want to tell you that Dad and I are going to create a foundation in your name to help other children. Marcus placed his hand on his daughter's shoulder, feeling a peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. Sarah, he said softly, our girl is okay. She is strong and brave like you, and I promise I will protect her better from now on. They stayed a few minutes in silence, just appreciating each other's presence and the memory of Sarah. Dad, Chloe said as they were leaving, do you think you'll be able to trust someone again? Romantically, I mean. Marcus thought for a moment. I don't know, Princess. Maybe one day. But for now, I want to focus on you, on our family, and on the foundation. I have everything I need. Dad. Chloe smiled. When you're ready to meet someone new, promise you'll let me meet the person first. I trust my instincts now. Marcus laughed. I promise, Chloe. And I promise I will listen when you tell me something is wrong. A few weeks later, Marcus and Chloe met with Tyler and his mother to discuss the foundation's plans. They gathered in the living room of the house, an environment very different from the cold hospital corridors where it all began. So, Marcus said, spreading some papers on the table. The Sarah Harrison Foundation will have 3 main pillars. First, scholarships for underprivileged youth who want to study medicine. Second, programs for the prevention and identification of medical abuse. And third, psychological support for families who have gone through situations similar to ours. Tyler studied the papers carefully. Mr. Marcus, this is incredible, but I have a question. What is it? How are we going to identify children who might be going through what Chloe went through? It's hard to notice when we don't know what to look for. Chloe spoke up. Tyler, that's a great question. I thought about that too. I think we can train people like you, hospital employees, nurses, even cleaning staff, to recognize suspicious signs. What kind of signs? Brenda asked. For example, Chloe explained, when a patient only gets worse when a specific person is around, or when someone insists on giving medications that aren't on the official chart, or when a child seems afraid of a particular caregiver. Marcus was impressed with Chloe's analysis. Chloe, you should write a guide about this, a manual to help healthcare professionals identify these cases. Dad, that's a great idea. I can work with Dr. Vance to create something really useful. Tyler got excited. And I can help. I know a lot of hospital staff who would be interested in learning about this. Perfect, Marcus said. Let's do this together. In the following months, the Sarah Harrison Foundation took shape. Marcus used part of his savings to start the project, and soon they began receiving donations from other people who had been through similar situations or who simply wanted to help. Tyler was the foundation's first scholarship recipient. While studying for his medical school entrance exams, he worked part-time at the foundation, helping to train hospital staff and identify suspicious cases. Chloe, in addition to her studies, became an active speaker on medical abuse and patient rights. Her youth and personal experience made her talks very impactful. Chloe, Marcus said one night after a particularly successful talk, I am so proud of you. Dad, sometimes I still can't believe all of this happened to us. But I'm grateful it resulted in something positive. You turned a tragedy into hope for other families, Princess. Your mother would be very proud. 6 months after Meredith's arrest, Marcus received an unexpected call. It was the detective in charge of the case. Mr. Marcus, I have news about Meredith. What happened? She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. The evidence you provided, along with the previous cases we were able to prove, resulted in a heavy sentence. Marcus felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief because Meredith couldn't harm other families, but sadness for the waste of a life. And there's more, the detective continued. Meredith wants to speak with you. With me? Why? She says she wants to apologize, and that she wants to tell the truth about why she did what she did. Marcus hesitated. Part of him wanted nothing to do with Meredith, but another part was curious about her motivations. Can I think about it? Of course, there's no rush, but if you decide to speak with her, it could be useful for other investigations. Marcus decided to talk with Chloe before making a decision. Princess, Meredith wants to talk to me. She wants to apologize. Chloe thought for a few moments. Dad, do you think this will help you find peace with everything that happened? I don't know. Maybe. Then I think you should go. But on one condition. What? That I go with you. Marcus shook his head immediately. Chloe, I don't think that's a good idea. It might be very difficult for you to see her again. Dad, Chloe said firmly, I am stronger than you think, and if she wants to apologize, she should apologize to me too. After all, I was the main victim. Marcus knew Chloe was right. She had shown extraordinary maturity and strength throughout this entire situation. All right, he agreed. But if at any point you want to leave, we leave. Deal. A week later, Marcus and Chloe visited Meredith in prison. It was strange to see her in the inmate uniform, without the professional, well-kept appearance she always maintained. When Meredith saw them, she began to cry immediately. Marcus, Chloe, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for everything. Marcus remained silent, letting her speak. "I know you have no reason to forgive me," Meredith continued, "and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know the truth." "What truth?" Chloe asked, her voice stronger than Marcus expected. "The truth is that I am a sick person, not physically but mentally. Since I was a child, I've always had this need to control people, to make them dependent on me, and when I realized I could use medical knowledge to do that." Meredith paused to compose herself. "In the beginning, I convinced myself I was helping, that I was giving attention and care to people who needed it. But then it became about the money, about having a comfortable life without having to really work." "How many people did you hurt?" Marcus asked. "Before you, 3 families. 2 children died. 1 recovered because the family moved before I could complete the plan." Marcus felt nauseous. Chloe squeezed his hand. "Meredith," Chloe said, "why did you choose our family specifically?" "Because you seemed perfect," Meredith answered, then realized how that sounded. "I mean, because Marcus was a widower, vulnerable, and you were the only child. It was an easier plan." Chloe nodded, as if this confirmed something she already knew. "Meredith, can I ask you one last question?" "Of course." "Did you ever feel remorse while you were hurting me?" Meredith looked into Chloe's eyes for a long moment. "Yes," she whispered, "especially near the end. You reminded me of my own daughter, who died when she was a child. That's why part of me is glad you discovered the truth." Marcus was shocked. "You had a daughter?" "I did. She died of real cancer when she was 8. Maybe that's why I fixated on that specific illness for what I did." Chloe leaned forward. "Meredith, do you think you can recover psychologically?" "I don't know, Chloe. I hope so. I'm in therapy here in prison. And," she hesitated, "I'm helping the authorities identify other similar cases across the country. I hope that can save other children." Marcus realized that, strangely, Chloe had managed to extract something positive even from this difficult conversation. "Meredith," he said finally, "I can't say I forgive you. Maybe one day I can, but not today. But I hope you truly manage to recover and that you never hurt anyone again." "Thank you, Marcus. And Chloe." Meredith looked at the girl with tears in her eyes. "You are stronger and wiser than any adult I've ever known. Your mother would be very proud." Chloe nodded. "Thank you, Meredith, and I hope you find peace." They left the prison with mixed feelings, but Marcus noticed that Chloe seemed lighter. "How do you feel, Princess?" "Better, actually. I think I needed to hear her take responsibility for what she did, and seeing that she's trying to change gives me hope that other people can change too." "You're amazing, Chloe. I learned from the best mother in the world and the best father in the world." 1 year after everything began, the Sarah Harrison Foundation had already identified 6 suspected cases of medical abuse, provided scholarships for 15 underprivileged youth, and trained hundreds of healthcare professionals to recognize warning signs. Tyler had passed the medical school entrance exam with one of the highest scores and continued working at the foundation during the holidays. Chloe had become a nationally recognized speaker on patient rights. Marcus, in turn, had found renewed purpose in life. The work at the foundation not only helped him deal with the guilt and trauma of what had happened, but also gave him the feeling that he was making a real difference in people's lives. "Dad," Chloe said one evening, as they reviewed the foundation's reports, "can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "Sometimes when I'm giving a talk, I feel as if Mom is there with me, giving me strength. Is that silly?" "It's not silly, Chloe. I feel the same thing when we're working at the foundation, as if she's guiding us." Chloe smiled. "Dad, have you ever thought about dating again?" Marcus laughed. This wasn't the first time Chloe had brought up this subject. "Why do you always ask that?" "Because you deserve to be happy, and because I think you found peace with what happened. Maybe it's time to open your heart to love again." "Chloe, would you be able to accept another person in our family, after everything we've been through?" Chloe thought carefully. "Dad, if it's the right person, yes. Someone who truly loves us, who is honest and kind. Someone you choose with your heart, but also with your head. And how will we know if it's the right person? We'll trust our instincts. You yours, I mine. And this time, We won't ignore the warning signs. A few months later, Marcus met Dr. Anne Elizabeth Vance, a pediatrician who worked at one of the hospitals where the foundation offered training. She was a kind, intelligent woman, genuinely committed to children's well-being. What impressed Marcus most was how Anne Elizabeth interacted with Chloe. She didn't try to replace the girl's mother or force intimacy. Instead, she treated Chloe as an intelligent young woman and respected the special bond between father and daughter. "Chloe," Marcus said one evening, after a few dates with Anne Elizabeth, "what do you think of her?" Chloe smiled. "Dad, she's very different from Meredith." "How so?" "Anne Elizabeth asks questions about Mum. She wants to know what she was like, what she liked to do, how you met. It's as if she wants to get to know Mum through us, not compete with her." Marcus nodded. That was true. Anne Elizabeth always showed respect for Sarah's memory. "And there's something else," Chloe continued. "When Anne Elizabeth talks about the future, she always includes you and me as a unit. She doesn't try to separate me from you or make plans with just you. It's as if she understands that we are a family and that anyone who comes into our life has to respect that." "Do you like her?" "I do. But more importantly, I trust her. My instincts don't set off any alarms when I'm around her." Marcus smiled. "Your instincts have proven very reliable, Princess." The relationship with Anne Elizabeth evolved slowly, and Marcus realized that was exactly what he needed. There was no rush, no pressure. Anne Elizabeth understood that Marcus and Chloe had been through a trauma and needed time to trust again. 2 years after meeting Anne Elizabeth, Marcus decided to propose. But first he wanted to have a serious talk with Chloe. "Chloe, I'm thinking of asking Anne Elizabeth to marry me, but only if you are completely comfortable with it." Chloe hugged him. "Dad, I'm more than comfortable, I'm happy. Anne Elizabeth truly loves us, and more importantly, she makes you smile again." "Are you sure?" "Dad, over the last 2 years, I've watched Anne Elizabeth carefully. She never tried to medicate me, never tried to pull me away from you, never showed interest in your money. She genuinely cares about us. I trust her." The wedding was a small, intimate ceremony held in the garden of the house where Marcus and Chloe lived. Tyler was one of the groomsmen, and his mother Brenda helped with the organization. Dr. Vance, who had become a family friend, officiated the ceremony. "Marcus," Anne Elizabeth said in her vows, "I promise to love you and Chloe, to respect Clara's memory, and to become part of this family without trying to change it, only to enrich it." Chloe was among the guests, smiling and crying at the same time. During the reception, she approached her new stepmother. "Anne Elizabeth," she said, "can I call you stepmom?" "If you want to, Chloe, it would be an honor. I want you to know you're not replacing my mother. You're adding love to our family." Anne Elizabeth hugged Chloe. "Chloe, I would never try to replace your mother. She will always be your mother. I hope I can be a friend, a mentor, and perhaps a second mother in heart." Marcus watched the interaction between his new wife and his daughter, feeling immense gratitude. His family had been nearly destroyed, but now it was stronger than ever. 5 years after Meredith's imprisonment, Chloe was graduating with a degree in psychology, specializing in childhood trauma. Tyler was in his 3rd year of medical school, and the Sarah Harrison Foundation had become a nationally recognized organization. "Dad," Chloe said on graduation day, "remember when you asked me if I could ever forgive Meredith?" "I remember. I think I finally have. Not because what she did was right, but because carrying anger doesn't help me help other children." Marcus smiled. "Your mother would be proud of your wisdom, Chloe." "And you, Dad? Have you managed to forgive yourself for not noticing sooner?" Marcus thought for a moment. "I'm still working on that, but Anne Elizabeth helps me remember that I did the best I could with the information I had at the time." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Chloe married a young doctor she met during her studies. Dr. Julian was a kind man who completely respected Chloe's past and fully supported her work at the foundation. "Chloe," Marcus said on the wedding day, "how does it feel, knowing you've found someone you can trust completely?" "Grateful, Dad, and confident that I learned the right lessons from our experience." "What lessons?" That true love doesn't try to control or isolate, that true partners support your dreams instead of trying to change them, and that instincts exist for a reason. We should always listen to them. Marcus nodded, knowing Chloe was well prepared for her own journey in love and life. Tyler graduated from medical school and decided to specialize in pediatric oncology. His first patient was an 8-year-old girl whose parents suspected medical abuse. "Dr. Tyler," the girl's mother said, "thank you for taking our concerns seriously. Other doctors told us we were being paranoid." "Mom," Tyler replied, "I've learned that a parent's instincts should always be respected. We're going to find out exactly what's happening with your daughter." Tests revealed the child was, in fact, being unnecessarily medicated by a nanny who hoped to gain the family's sympathy and attention. Another child was saved thanks to the lessons learned from Chloe's experience. Marcus, now 55, was overseeing the opening of the 5th branch of the Sarah Harrison Foundation when he received an unexpected call. "Mr. Marcus, this is Meredith." Marcus nearly dropped the phone. Meredith had been released on parole after serving 8 years of her sentence. "Meredith? Why are you calling me?" "Marcus, I want you to know I'm doing well. I've truly recovered. I now work as a rehabilitation counselor, helping other people who have committed similar crimes." "That's good to know. And Marcus, I want to thank you." "Thank me? For not giving up on me completely, for allowing me to cooperate with the authorities. It gave me a purpose, a chance to atone for at least some of the harm I caused." Marcus didn't know what to say. "Meredith, how are you dealing with what you did?" "Every day is a struggle, Marcus, but I know I saved at least 10 children by helping to identify other cases. That doesn't erase what I did to Chloe and the other children, but it gives me a reason to keep trying to be better." "Would you like to talk to Chloe?" There was a long pause. "Marcus, that would be amazing, but I don't want to force anything. If she wants to talk to me, I would be honored, but I would completely understand if she didn't." Marcus promised to ask Chloe and hung up the phone with mixed feelings. When he told Chloe about the call, her reaction surprised him. "Dad, I would like to talk to her, not for her sake, but for mine. I think it would be helpful for my own healing process to see that she has really changed." The conversation between Chloe and Meredith happened via video call, with Marcus and Anne Elizabeth present for support. "Chloe," Meredith said, visibly nervous, "you've grown so much, you're beautiful, and you seem at peace." "Thank you, Meredith. How are you?" "Better, much better. I'm in intensive therapy. I take medication for my mental health issues, and I work to help other people." Chloe nodded. "Meredith, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "If you could go back in time, what would you do differently?" Meredith thought carefully. "Chloe, if I could go back, I would seek psychological help as soon as I realized I had impulses to hurt people. I would have been honest about my problems instead of trying to hide them. And I would never have gotten close to your family." "But Meredith, if you hadn't gotten close to our family, you might have hurt another family that wouldn't have found out in time." Marcus was impressed by Chloe's perspective. "Chloe is right," he said. "In a way, what happened to us may have saved other children." "You are amazing people," Meredith said, crying. "You managed to turn something terrible into something positive. I wish I could have been the person you deserved from the beginning." "Meredith," Chloe said gently, "you can be that person from now on, for other people who need help." After the conversation, Chloe turned to her father. "Dad, I am at peace with everything that happened. Meredith seems genuinely recovered, and we know our experience saved many other children. I think we can close this chapter of our lives." Marcus hugged his daughter, feeling that he had finally reached the end of a very long and difficult journey. Years passed. Chloe had 3 children, all raised with the knowledge and wisdom she had gained through her experience. Tyler became one of the country's leading pediatric oncologists, known for his sensitivity in complex cases. Marcus and Anne Elizabeth grew old together, happy and fulfilled. The Sarah Harrison Foundation continued to grow, saving hundreds of children and training thousands of healthcare professionals. On a quiet evening, Marcus was sitting in the garden of his house, watching Chloe play with her grandchildren. Anne Elizabeth joined him, following his gaze. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "I was thinking about Sarah," Marcus replied, "and how happy she would be to see Chloe now." "She would be proud," Anne Elizabeth agreed. "And you should be proud too. You saved your daughter, and in the process saved many other children." "It wasn't just me," Marcus said. "It was Tyler. It was Chloe. It was you. It was our whole extended family. Together we transformed something terrible into something beautiful." Chloe approached them, carrying her youngest son in her arms. "Dad," she said, "this little one here reminded me of something." "What was it, Princess?" "He reminded me of how important it is to protect children, and how every child deserves to be genuinely loved and cared for." Marcus smiled, looking at his grandson. "And how will we know if we're doing it right?" "By trusting our instincts," Chloe replied, echoing the lessons they had learned together. "Always trusting our instincts." Marcus looked around at his family, Anne Elizabeth, Chloe, the grandchildren, and even Tyler, who had become like a son to him. They were all united not just by love, but by a shared experience that had taught them the value of trust, honesty, and the courage to face the truth, even when it hurts. "Sarah," he whispered, knowing that somewhere she could hear him, "thank you for protecting us, and thank you for teaching us that, even in the darkest situations, love and truth can always prevail." End of story. This was a fictional story, created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought of this narrative about trust, intuition, and overcoming adversity. Where are you watching from? If Marcus made the right decision by trusting his daughter's instincts, leave your honest opinion in the comments. Your company is very important to us.